Preston McCall here. This video is about Salvador Dali. Dali once said, "The only difference between a madman and me is that I'm not mad." When he met Freud whispered to his friend, "This man is a fanatic." Well, Dali was probably both, mad and a fanatic. But nonetheless, he was quite the draftsman and a very good painter in terms of being able to handle the paint and certainly being able to come up with some very outrageous and interesting ideas for his paintings. He was born in 1904 and lived to a ripe old age of 1989 when he died of heart failure. He claimed he was classically trained because he went to the Prado every day to copy and draw famous paintings. He did attend some classes and schooling and was around enough art as a youngster to develop some very good drawing skills. He was a member of the Surrealist movement, although he was removed as a member later on by André Breton because he did not agree with the Surrealists that Franco, the head of Spain, was nuts. Dali never made political statements, and the Surrealists did. He wanted to come to the United States. He had a show there, and he went to see Picasso, whom he'd met in 1926. And Dora Maar, who was Picasso's paramour at the time, said that Picasso had a black leather trunk that was full of money that Conweiler, Picasso's dealer, had stuffed full of money from the sale of his paintings. Apparently there were several $100,000, and Picasso referred to his trunk as his cigarette money. Well, Dali showed up, said he needed $5,000 to go to America, and Picasso opened his trunk and gladly gave him $5,000. And Picasso smiled, and Dali and Gala went to New York. And Picasso afterwards leaned over to Dora and said, "That's good. I'll never have to see him again because I know he'll never pay me back." Dali went to the United States, stayed in New York, and tried to participate in Hollywood. Got to know Walt Disney, who he thought was going to have him help design the movie Fantasia, but instead put him on another project that was never really finished, Destino, which was finally finished by one of Disney's other people later on. Dali was kind of full of himself, I guess you'd say. He would show up to openings dressed preposterously. And one time in a show in New York, instead of showing up for the opening, he sent in 4 Clydesdale horses instead. I mean, he was just totally outrageous. And he always stayed the very best of accommodations at the Regency in New York City. And he never paid for any of his meals. He would just sign the check and assume that the restaurant would think the signed check by Dali was worth more with his signature than the money. Needless to say, most restaurants accepted it. Gala was 10 years his senior and was really the motivation behind him to produce paintings and commercialize his success. And he was extremely successful. She died about 8 years before he passed on, and he claimed he was in love with her and that she was his only ever. But it was very clear that he'd had numerous other relationships, and so did she. Anyway, I like the paintings of Dali because they're so well done. His draftsmanship is very good. He was just a little bit over the top and way too eccentric. But nonetheless, he produced some interesting work. Let me know if you have any comments about Dali. I'd be very curious to hear them. And hit the like and subscribe buttons. And email me if you have any other questions. Thanks a lot. Once again, I'm Preston McCall. Thank you.